Hello and welcome back. So while I've got abundance in here, I've also got plenty of gaps I need to fill in. I've got gaps here, and I've got gaps in between here as well. Oh, hello. And there's big gaps between these French dwarf beans. Let's call them opportunities and not failures. And then I've also got plenty of crops that are going to be finishing within 3 to 6 weeks as well. So both beds of carrots will slowly be finishing in the next 3 to 6 weeks. Fingers crossed. And so are these kohlrabi. So these lettuces are also going over, so there's space here as well. Right, so as you can see, there's plenty of opportunities, there's plenty of gaps, and I've also got a plan for all those crops that are going to be finished between 3 to 6 weeks. And as you can see in here, I haven't got much to go out, so I've got to really start planning, start sowing. So I actually filmed this yesterday and I had real problems with the actual cucumbers. I was focusing in and out, so you won't see the blistering sunshine that we had yesterday. So a little bit of not good contrast. Continuity, not good continuity. Right, so I had a list. This is a list of all the stuff that I want to start sowing and what I could actually start sowing. So it's kohlrabi, turnip, winter radishes, white star onion, chard, beetroot, thin leaf mustards, carrots, kales. Now I've also got a different kale to try out. Simply Salad Kale Storm. Now what this is 5 or 6 seeds, and then it's put into a pellet. So we've got multiple plants all growing, and it's just for the leaves, which is most kales are, aren't they? But it's much for abundance of leaves of all these different kales, and this is what I'm going to try out. Now you only get 20 pellets with it, so I've got to sow these sparingly, but I'm going to try this out, every couple of weeks, just sow 1 or 2 of these pellets, and then I'm going to see how they go, growing them outside and also growing them inside, ready for the autumn. So that's a new one to me. Then I've got the beetroot, mange tout, spinach. Now spinach in July it's no point in sowing it, just because you got to start it off. If you are starting it off indoors in a greenhouse, it's just going to bolt. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to try it, the Medina one, and because I've got all that shaded area that only gets around about 6 hours of sunlight each day, I'm going to try it up there, and that's a bit of an experiment for me. Normally I do it in August for the colza and the winter giant, and some of the perpetual as well. And then I come to tomatoes, and again I'm going to do another experiment with that. I've got a whole load of seed of the house tomatoes, which is just a bush variety, and that's been bred for growing on windowsills. Now normally that takes around about 4 months before it gets to fruiting stage, but I normally start that off in January and February time, so it's not that as much daylight as there is now. So I'm hoping that grows really quickly, say around about 3 months. I can sort of put the plants down a bit similar to the size of the basil, so I can store them in here, and then when I get to the staging side, when I put that up again in September time, hopefully I can put quite a few of those plants on there, and they can grow through September, October time, and then if they are flourishing, I'll bring them indoors then as well, because around about November time we always get a real heavy frost, so I don't want to lose them. So that's another experiment, and I may even try it with the Latar as well. That's 2 foot by 2 foot wily bush, but you might as well try these experiments, especially when you got all this sunshine, and it's just a learning experience. And then just normal kale as well. So I've got lots of different ideas, I've got lots of different plans, but I'm also going to use a bit more of a scattergun approach when I've started sowing, or when I'm starting to plant out, because everything is growing at different stages. We've got rapid growth got rapid growth on all these cucumbers. Now I did just do, because I had all the problems yesterday. I cut it wrong. There's a leaf coming down here, it's just banging into the head, and I cut upwards. I have slightly nicked one of these stems. Hopefully that heals up pretty quickly. So yeah, this knife, I'm still learning with it, and that is a no-no now. That I can't go up, I've got to go away from the plant. So I was near on disaster, and hopefully I haven't nicked it too bad, and it's the one coming right across there. Right, so before there's any more disasters, let me take you outside, and we'll go through various beds and what I'm planning to do, what I could possibly sow, and hopefully you get some use out of it. Well, it's really nice to be sitting here and watching the bees going around pollinating all of these flowers. Now I know they're male flowers, but it's really nice to see this vibrancy in the garden. And this uchikuri has actually pollinated. Right, so like I said before, is I've got plenty of corners in the beds and different areas in the beds that I can use up. You know, that's an empty space. So what I'm thinking is I'm going to do a whole load of beetroot. Now I use cylindra for more of a October harvest, because it's just nice, long and round, cylindrical. So that's what I'm also going to do is, I mean, this is an example, but with a 20 litre tub, I'm going to do 3 of these as well as planting up into the various areas in the beds. And I could use this also for the corners as well. Is what I'm going to do is heavily sow this tub, and then as it starts to mature, gets the leaves, then I'm going to start to thin out, and I'm just going to harvest those leaves. So hopefully I get around about 9 plants going around the edge, maybe one in the middle in the end, and then I can take those in September into the greenhouse to hopefully get more warmth, and we'll see how they go. That's just purely experiment, but like I say, you could do it certainly for the corners and any spare room you got in the beds. So this beetroot here is multi-sowing, and what we've got here is one big one. So I harvest this, then the next one grows, and then the next one grows, which works really well during the summer months. But because I'm going to be growing them later on, then I won't have the time to have that succession in growing. You know, where I get one nice one, then I wait another couple of weeks, then get another one, and then get another one. That starts to eat into the October probably deadline that I need. So what I'm going to do here is I do have a spare room at the end of this for more beiju mange tout, the giant mange tout. But what I've also got is this area here, and what I'm going to do is, rather than saying I'm going to be planting beetroot in there, or I'm going to be using French dwarf beans in there, I'm just going to say what could actually go in there. You know, it's getting plenty of sunshine, but it's also got a little bit of shade as well. So that's a nice area for me to look at. So I'm thinking I can either do beetroot in there, or I can use the French dwarf bean. And the one that I'm going to mention quite a lot is the purple dwarf French bean. Now the only reason why I'm mentioning that is just purely because I've got plenty of seed, and it's also, like I've just said, is the vibrancy of the flowers that I'm adding into this. So if you can imagine, these leaves are gone after a couple of weeks as it gets taller and taller, but I'm still getting nice yellow yes, be there, getting nice yellow flowers going up, but to have the purple and possibly the white of some of the dwarf green French beans in there be really nice. Right, so this area here, there's a lot of potatoes in here, but over the next 4 to 8 weeks they're going to be slowly dying off. Certainly the Charlottes in the next couple of weeks, and then slowly the Sharps Express and the Velour, which gives me plenty of area to use up with tubs. So I've got to look at this area, and I've also got to look at this bed with the carrots. Again, 3 to maybe 8 weeks There's quite a long period, and everything at the moment is growing very fast, but we may get, and this is what usually happens, we may get a rainy summer, and hopefully, and again, I'm fingers crossed, we don't get that. So I've got a plan for both scenarios. So this is going to be a bit more of a scattergun approach, in that I know I'm going to have these areas coming up, but I just need plants to go in there. So it may be winter radishes, it may be white star onions. I may have to go with something different. It depends what is ready to go into the beds at the time. What I'm planning for here is winter radishes. You know, that covers a huge amount. You've got the what is it, the red meat one, the watermelon one, I forgot what that one's called. The black Spanish round, the winter China rose, daikon, mooli. I never know quite the difference between those. I've got the white icicle, that'll be all right to go in here. So that covers a lot, but I don't know whether they'll be ready too early to go in or too late to go in to replace these. So they may be interplanted into other areas. It depends when I start them off. It's the same as the turnip. And what else have I got on this list? White star onion. Now white star onion can easily go in there. I could do those in tubs and replace some of these tubs when they're finished off. And then over the, hopefully, Indian summer that we get, they can stay out and then go into the greenhouse a little bit later on in October time. Chard, again, that be in tubs or as a fill-in around all these gaps. And another one that I'm going to look at is probably towards the end of July, is the thin-leafed mustards. You know, you got the lime streak mustard at Mizuna and the golden streak. Now both of those would do ideally up at the top, where I only get about 6 hours of sunlight each day, so they'll be okay there. Normally mustards, I do those throughout August, so I'm going to just try that as a bit of an experiment. I will have to find an area to put them in if they do grow quite rapid, because I can't store them in the greenhouse because they'll just bolt in there. So it's a nice problem to have if we got all this nice sunshine, but we'll see how we go. And then on this carrot bed, I'm also thinking I've got an extra space. I left that purposely to do a late sowing, and I will do a late sowing of whatever's here, and the same in that bed. But I'll also look at tubs as well. I mentioned in previous videos the NIF carrots, and I could do those because they're a bit more of a stubbier carrot. Going in some tubs here again, I can take those into the greenhouse if it does start to get colder in September time. And then I've also got this one, like I said before, this is a multi-seeded pellet for kales. Now you only get 20 seeds, so I've got to be sparing with the amount of sowing. But I'm going to do these probably every 2 weeks over the next 6 weeks of maybe 4 or 5 each time, and see how they turn out. Again, some of those could go in here, some of them can go in tubs. I can take those into the greenhouse as it gets cooler in the September and October time. So I've got plenty of options, and what I'm going to do is more of a scattergun option. I know that I've got to start sowing these things, but I can't be planning and just saying winter radishes are going in here. I've got to be a bit more flexible. It's the same with, I've forgotten to mention turnips. Now, because we've got so many yellow flowers in the garden at the moment, I'm going to hold off a little bit on the turnips to around about later in July. And the simple reason is that the yellow flowers are bringing in a lot of flea beetle, and that's the same for the winter radishes. I'll hold off a little bit sowing those to later in the July time if I'm going to sow them, just because of all the flea beetle on the yellow leaves. Right, let's take you up there. Right, so all these beds down here, I need to look at the gaps. And I've got plenty of gaps in between these French beans. I did it purposely so I could plant another crop of either French dwarf beans in there or turnips or spinach. Now spinach, normally you don't really do it in July, but because I've got shade from 12 o'clock onwards, then as you can see the lettuce has done really well. So that's what I'm looking at and thinking I could possibly do a early spinach. Normally I do spinach in August, sowing the Kohlrabi or the giant winter, but I may actually do a Medina in there. So that's a possibility. And I've also got to look at what am I going to replace the peas with. Again, I could use chard, which is doing really well over there. Chard, the giant kohlrabi, turnips, spinach. So there's plenty of, I could actually look at replacing those. Right, so these are the purple dwarf French beans, and this is one I'm really going to heavily use because although it is a dwarf, it can get quite longer. Is it stems or vines? I'm not sure on the dwarf French beans. We've got these beautiful purple flowers and then purple beans. So both of those are decorative. Then you compare those with the white ones, and then you've got the green beans starting as well there. So that's really nice to have those different contrasts. And then here we've got, I think this is the Sprite, no dwarf it is. You got the yellow beans, white flowers, but yellow beans. So if you start into planting all these, not only are you creating a lovely contrast with the different flowers and the different beans, you're also getting this real beautiful crop of different beans. Right, so this is another bed that I need to look at. Now I have said I'm going to do the purple dwarf bean, French bean, going up the sweet corn around the edges. And what I'm thinking here is I've got plenty of areas to do that as well around the front. Now I could do beetroot around the front, especially in the corners, beetroot along here, but I also could do the French bean, dwarf French bean. I could do turnip because there's so many flea beetles on the yellow flowers at the moment. They are just covered, even the leaves are covered in flea beetles at the moment. So they're just getting drawn to the yellow flowers. So there's no point in thinking about radishes or turnips for this bed at the moment while we've got all these flowers out. So yes, certainly do beetroot or French beans. What I may do is sow some French beans or start them off now, and they can either go onto these sweet corn around the edges if they're tall enough at the time, or I may just put them at the front here. There's so many different options though where you could look at it. If I just sow all the seeds, hopefully I'll be able to squeeze them all in. And that's my plan. There is area going down the middle at the moment, but what I'm thinking of doing is I've got side shoots here. I've also got a nice side shoot there. I'm going to try and run them down the middle as well. It's all experimental and this is all new to me with these large winter squashes. But this bed is working out. It's really nice to look out and see the vibrant colours of all these yellow flowers. Right, so there you go. It's a bit more of a scattergun approach that I'm going to be doing, is just sowing as much as I can and then trying to see where I can fill it in rather than planning. Like I say, the way the crops are growing so fast that if I start planning, I'm not going to be ready. So if I do the scattergun approach, that I have them started off, then I'll just tackle the problem then. And it's not the end of the world. Of some of the seeds, especially like the beetroot, I've still got around about 500 to 600 seeds. So if I lose a few seeds, and they are old seeds, then it's not the end of the world. And one of the ones I haven't mentioned, I've just been looking through the list and I suddenly realised I haven't even mentioned lettuces. And that's one of the things I do need to sow, because the ones I kept in here are looking to be bolting over the next couple of days or weeks. These we're just having tonight. So yeah, and of course cucumbers as well. Just inundated. This is going to be another lot of pickles for it. And I've suddenly saw some of the side shoots. I'm starting to get cucumbers on there as well. Like I said in previous videos, it's a real nice problem to have, and this weather, although it's causing problems in watering, it is a nice problem to have, because everything is booming at the moment and it's really nice. So let's have a look right through here. I've done the kohlrabi. Have I done the kohlrabi? I haven't mentioned the kohlrabi, have I? Oh. That's another one I'm going to be doing. Maybe not the purple one. I'm going to be doing quite a lot of the Jan kohlrabi. That is going to be probably mid to late July. And again, I'm going to see what areas I can start fitting that in once it's ready to go out. And I do need to find or create an area that is shaded, protected from the butterflies, and these can thrive in. It's the same with the lettuces as well. And quite a lot of these, if I keep them in here, they're just going to bolt. Even though it is cooler in here than it is outside at the moment, especially with this breeze going through here. So it's been a bit of a wittering and a waffling thing, and planning always is, because you start to second guess. I'm not second guessing now. I'm just going to sow the seeds. If I don't plant them up, I don't plant them up, but it's not the end of the world. But if I have got them, I can put them in when hopefully I'm getting some nice harvests and not failures. Right, so let's see, what else is there, anything else? Have I mentioned the beetroot mange too? I'm going to be sowing that. I've mentioned the kale, and again, I'll start looking through some of my older packets of kale as well, just to see whether I do a couple of rows of just baby leaf microgreen kales, or whether I actually want to start sowing some of those more for the autumn and winter. We'll just have to see. Normally I do those a little bit later on, the first week of August. You know, that really is a busy time of sowing. So if I got plenty now sowing, it sort of alleviates the issue then, and space wise as well, because I am limited with space. That shelf has to go because the Ethel Watkins are certainly grown tall there, and that's just clashing at the moment. So I'm waffling again. So like I always say, I hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope to see you again.